Happy Gemini season. In today's video, we're going to be mixing together Lunar Tide's Citrine Yellow and their Moonstone. So to start, I have my swatches labeled 1 through 12, but I do pictures and clips near the end of the video, so the numbers just help us keep track of each swatch. These are human hair swatches, but the only one that's virgin hair is the number 4 black swatch. The rest have been chemically dyed or bleached at some point in their existence. 1 is pink. Oftentimes when I'm doing greens, I get people requesting that I put them on pink hair, so that's why I did number 1 as a pink. 2 is gray. 3 is a natural red. 4 is black, and then from 4 to 11, we have a range that goes to a platinum blonde, and then number 12 is like a toned version of number 11. I will get more into my color explanation a little bit later in the video, but I just wanted to start by doing a 4-to-1 ratio on top here. So that is going to be 4 parts of Moonstone to 1 part Citrine. Please keep in mind everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take dye differently. And I've especially noticed that screens and monitors will make colors look different, like especially the undertones. So just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you. So Gemini season starts roughly around May 20th and ends around June 21st. But that does change every year, just slightly. And that's why it's always a roundabout date that you'll see in multiple different websites. Astrology actually relies pretty heavily on degrees, and I won't go into too much detail about that, but what marks the start of a new astrological season is when the sun enters that particular sign. This year, I believe Gemini season started roughly around 7:40 p.m. on May 20th, so that means hypothetically if someone was born May 20th, but like in the afternoon, maybe around noon, they would still be a Taurus. Pretty cool, huh? 2 people can be born on the same day and be different signs. So for the second portion, we're going to be doing equal parts. So that's going to be the same amount of citrine to moonstone. So Gemini is an air sign ruled by Mercury, and based off of a lot of my research, it does seem like the colors associated with Gemini definitely come from the Mercury association. One of the main colors associated with Mercury is yellow, and I think that's because of the very energetic energy that comes from Mercury. Therefore, bright yellow also is associated with Gemini. Now, I can't make a bright yellow. That's pretty much a primary color, so I can't make that. But I noticed the next in line that is often associated with both Mercury and Gemini is a bright green. I swear I read somewhere that Mercury has a green light when you look at it in a telescope. I could be wrong. So I think that's partially where the green comes from. And based off of the people in my life that I know, I feel like green is a very good choice anyways, especially because May, where I live in Wisconsin, is kind of when we start to get more consistently warm weather. We will have warm days sprinkled in before that, but it really starts to feel like spring in May. And that's another reason why I chose green, and a lighter, brighter green at that. The equal parts is going to be a lot closer to the green I was expecting. I mixed a 2-to-1 ratio where it was 2 parts of Moonstone to 1 part Citrine, and it looked very similar to the equal parts, so I thought the 4-to-1 with more Moonstone was a good choice because it's still very bright, very springtime looking. It's just not quite as yellowy as the equal parts mix, but to me it's just as pretty. Hopefully that was interesting for you, but I'm gonna let these sit for about 3 hours. I will then rinse them out, and I'll meet you back here and we can do some comparisons. I know there are green haters out there. I feel like green, especially shades of green like this, are very controversial. And I guess anyone who doesn't like green, any Geminis who don't like these shades of green, have probably already clicked out. So I guess I have nothing to really worry about. But I just know there's someone looking at this right now, probably just very unhappy. And to you, I'm very sorry. But I am very happy. I can't lie. I am in love with this and how it turned out. I know greens, especially like the bottom ones, are often considered like puke greens, but let me tell you, that is probably one of my favorite shades ever. So if you're like someone who's on the fence, just know there's people out there like me that are living for this right now. In fact, I dyed my hair mostly back to my natural color, but I do have 2 strips of color. Right now they're like a periwinkle blue. I'm heavily considering doing a green soon, and I may actually do this mix because I personally love it. Luckily there's people like Billie Eilish. Oh my god, I just called her Billie Eilish. Luckily there's people like Billie Eilish who've made neon greens very popular. Not that this is necessarily super neon, but I would say she did help make green a little less hated. Now I will say, when I was applying the dyes, I did fully expect this to be the Gemini green that I wanted, because the top looked like it was way too blue. It almost looked like a beetle green from Lunar Tides, or even iris green from Arctic Fox, and that wasn't quite the green I wanted, but like I said earlier, the other mixes looked way too close to each other. So I said, you know what, we'll just try it. And I'm glad I did, because after I washed out the dye and it dried, it's actually a lot closer to the type of green I was thinking for Gemini. So the number 1 was a pink swatch. The bottom half turned out like almost like a orangey color, but it's not super bright orange, and I think it's because of that little bit of blue that's helping to tone it down. I don't really love the top half though. It just kind of looks like a dye job gone wrong. The green didn't really, it looks like it almost neutralized it, but not quite. But I'm not hating on you if you do like it. There's something out there for everyone. Number 2, as usual, is the most cool tone looking, especially on the top. So this bluish green look here is how I thought these were going to turn out. But I'm assuming the yellowy tones in the lighter hair helped the green to look more of like a spring green versus the slightly more cool tone green. And then the bottom half just looks a little less bright, but overall the undertones feel very similar. There's not much of a difference on number 3. I mean, you can see a difference, but they both still look like a natural red. If anything, this part actually looks a little more brown, like the green did help neutralize the red out a little bit. 4 stayed the same. So 5 and 6, I can see a slight difference, but they still overall just look like brown hair with maybe a slightly different undertone. It's not until 7 that you can kind of see a difference, where like this does look kind of like greenish hair on both parts, but it's not truly as saturated until you get to number 8 and onward. But if we're being honest, I probably wouldn't use this on my hair unless I had at least number 10 or 11 undertone hair. But if you have virgin hair, regardless of how light it is, it probably won't take the dye as well. The yellow in this mix seems to be a little bit more pigmented, sticks to the hair a little bit better than the blue. So I would say only do this if you have naturally very, very light hair, or if you've obviously dyed your hair before, because I don't think this mix would stick to virgin hair very well, especially darker virgin hair. So we should probably jump into comparisons now, but based off of everything I've done, I haven't found anything that is a perfect match, which does make sense. I don't see a lot of brands doing like a ton of different variety of greens. I don't think a lot of people want green in their hair, especially if it's not super saturated, but I figured I would start with Iroiro in the color Neon Green. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. Most of the greens I've done are either way too dark or way too cool toned, so that's why this made it into the video, but obviously it's nowhere near the same at all. Of my 2 comparisons, this is the slightly more bluish green. Not that it is a blue green, but it is slightly more blue green. But I do feel like this comparison does help to pull out just how like yellowy both of these greens are. But yeah, obviously they're not similar at all, but maybe you were wondering, maybe you thought they could be. The other comparison I wanted to look at today is Manic Panic in the color Electric Lizard. This is comparable to number 12. This is comparable to number 11, number 10, and number 9. So Electric Lizard is a much more yellowy green compared to most of the greens I've done. So obviously this one does look a lot more similar than the last one, but again, it's not really an exact match. On the platinum blonde hair, the electric lizard is a very bright and neon color. And I feel like it only really looks similar on the 9 and 10 or 10 and 11, however you want to look at it, because the neon quality really dies down in the darker blonde swatches. But in my mix, it looks almost more olivey, a little bit more muted, I guess. And I know Lunar Tides has other greens that I haven't done yet, so if I do those and they look similar to this at all, of course I will compare those, but I have a feeling they won't. But if you're someone who's been looking for a slightly more muted, not super bright, but still kind of bright green, hopefully this mix helped you out. And I'm really sorry to any Geminis I offended, but I personally love this color so much. So I wanted to get into the before and after clips now. Those, as well as everything after this point in the video, will be done in natural lighting, which if anyone's ever wondering why I end my sentences with like an upward influx like that, it's usually because I'm saying more, but I don't always put it in the video because sometimes it's irrelevant. And if that bothered anyone, I'm just letting you know, because it bothers me when I'm editing. I hope this video helped. I hope my Geminis out there didn't hate me for this video and actually liked this mix. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out. Just remember, I only do dyes that do not test on animals. Feel free to guess the Cancer mix, or at least the color that it's gonna turn out like, if you'd like. Like I said, I am trying to stick to basic colors for this, traditional colors, I should say. But thank you to my patrons very much, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.